What's up, everybody? This is Alex Christopher from the Duran. I've got with me Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk, and we've got some breaking news. So I'm broadcasting this from a coffee shop because we have to break this news, and there's no one better to break this news than Mr. Peter Lavelle. We have Trump and Kim signing a joint document where Kim says there's going to be some major changes on the peninsula. Trump is basically declaring that North Korea has agreed to full denuclearization. Peter, what's going on? What's your take on all of this? And how is the mainstream media dealing with this?
Well, they came out with a communique with 4 points, admittedly a bit vague, but that was intentional because this was a summit of low expectations, as it should have been. This is a conflict that hasn't been resolved in 68 years. I didn't expect it to be resolved in one meeting with a few hours. The fact that the meeting happened in the first place is very, very important. On the upside, there is a communique. There are ways to work together. John Bolton must be really, really depressed right now. Right before we started this, I did a quick review of the mainstream media. Of course, the liberal corporatist media is saying it was a waste of time, essentially. No, it wasn't. It's very, very important. It's going to be the terms and conditions of how they get to where they want to be. And that's going to take a learning process, a real learning process. One of the interesting takeaways, of course, there was something called the Johnson effect, when President Johnson used to work on people. But we're getting the Trump effect right now. Trump is really putting on the charm, and he seems genuinely committed. But he knows all the pitfalls, okay? And I think he should be given credit for them. A lot of people know that I've been very critical of his foreign policy, but if there's a glimmer of hope for peace, then we got to go in that direction. The commitments on both sides, it's a starting point. It's a starting line. It's not the end, okay? All of the neocons that unfortunately surround him and their foreign policy bloc, they want the finish line first, okay? Basically surrender, give up, and then we'll be nice to you. Well, that's not going to work. Trump knows that, okay? So the implications of this are very important because there's going to be plenty of people that are going to want to sabotage this. You have to understand, and I think this is where the mainstream media really is myopic, as usual, is that I think the first step is going to end the Korean War. Now, the United States never declared war under Truman, but we have the two Koreas that are in a state of war. First of all, they want to end that. I think that can happen relatively quickly. When that happens, Alex, this is the Pentagon's worst nightmare, because if the North and South have peace, then a lot of South Koreans are going to say, then why are U.S. troops here? The war is over. Now, South Korea is it's the hub for the Northwestern Pacific for the United States. The Japanese are looking at this in a very glum way because they want the U.S. to stay there. The Chinese obviously came out with positive remarks about it. We could have expected that. This is basically a road map that the Chinese and the Russians wrote months and months and months ago. Again, the mainstream media won't admit that. The United States essentially is committing itself in very vague terms right now, very vague terms, which is fine, to that process. It's basically a freeze for freeze. There's no discussion that the U.S. must withdraw troops from South Korea immediately to start this process. None. The North Koreans were smart to take that off the table. It used to always be on the table. Now it's off the table. The next step is going to be, and it's going to be very tough for Trump, but he's Trump. There'll be a summit in Washington. See, this is what I think Trump wants. He's going to say, unlike what people think about me, this is going to be a long game. And he wants, both these guys want this badly, okay? North Koreans have been planning this for years, folks, years. And it's come to fruition, okay? They needed a bargaining chip to sit at the table. They got the bargaining chip. They're at the table, and this is where the negotiations start. The North Koreans only need a nuclear deterrent to make sure the United States doesn't attack it. And we have Pompeo coming out and saying security guarantees for North Korea. This is what the North Koreans have been saying for years, okay? I mean, for the North Koreans, they're getting their demands are being accepted, at least rhetorically. That's a step in the right direction, okay? Now, we have another thing that's very important with this summit. the Americans, I don't know what the North Korean position was, but the Americans didn't want the South Koreans at this summit. They should have been, but I think it's the Americans said, no, this is going to be a two-man show. But with this communique, as vague as it is, I want to stress that, the South Koreans can now say, thank you, Mr. Trump, for coming to Singapore Summit. You can go home. Maybe Mr. Kim can go visit you later. But now the process for the Koreans starts to get some momentum because Trump has given his stamp of approval. Okay, the mainstream constantly underestimates the inter-Korea dynamic here. Now it's been given a seal of approval, and we're going to have elections tomorrow in South Korea. I think it's local elections. We're going to see what the populace thinks about this, and I think it's going to be, yeah, let's keep going. Okay, and so Trump is given a seal of approval to China, and now the two Koreas can start tangling. Okay? And that's where we're really going to find peace. And if we can find peace, then there's going to be implications for all of the major arms producers in the United States, because that is just a gravy train. It's a gravy train for those guys. So there's going to be plenty of people as we speak right now. They're going to start pushing against this. This was a fool's errand. Trump was tricked again. No. I think that if the U.S., because the last two times Bush and with Clinton and Bush, the U.S. didn't negotiate in good faith. The Congress never funded these programs that the Americans promised to give the North Koreans. They never funded it. Okay, and that's when the Koreans say, these are not good partners. Okay, Trump, aware of that, knows it can't happen again. So we'll see if this peace initiative can get some momentum. I think it's a good start. Anytime there's a peace, you have to accept it. Okay, there's going to be plenty of people that are going to push against it. They're going to be maybe an incident. You know how this game plan always works out. But this is a world historic thing. I was just watching the live streaming of them sitting together. It was surreal. It was just surreal. And then have the North Korean flag, American flag, North Korean flag. That was surreal too. Okay. So I think this is a suspension of suspicion for the time being. It's a great day. Let's see if the momentum can be carried on. Let's watch what Moon does in South Korea. Very interesting. Excellent.
Peter, you mentioned China and Russia, and I was watching Laura Ingraham yesterday, and she had a panel of analysts, and they presented the picture that China and Russia were not for a rapprochement between North and South Korea. China for its reasons and Russia for its reasons. Give us the real deal. Give us the real deal.
I saw that. Look, the Chinese, they look at North Korea. They live with North Korea. Is North Korea a pain in the neck sometimes? Yeah, okay. But the implications of a failed regime are far worse for China. They don't want to have that happen. They certainly don't want to have a unification of the peninsula under American terms. They don't want that. I mean, what everybody should, from a realist perspective, why don't we just have a demilitarized zone of the Korean peninsula, okay? And security guarantees for all. I saw the segment on Laura Ingraham. What is it going to be? It's going to be the technology of Samsung with cheap labor in North Korea or something like that. Is that a cost of peace? I suppose so. But then you kind of are moving away from, Rocket Man, and Guam is going to be destroyed, and, every American city. That was only a few months ago. Now they're going to worry about who's going to build a better smartphone. Again, this is just extreme. And, what I find sickening is this American-centric view of this conflict. This is a country that is homogenous. They're Koreans. They're all Koreans, okay? They have a common culture. They have a common history, a common culinary history as well. It's all one place. It's not. It's something that was artificially divided. And that was one of Stalin's mistakes. He agreed to it, not understanding the implications of it. Okay, so. I think that there's this perception of how it affects America and its allies. The real story is how this conflict and the armistice that was put into place 68 years ago, how that can be moved forward. And I think China would just love to see that hotspot cool down. okay? And believe me, after Trump's visit, there's going to be no appetite from the South Koreans, from the Chinese, and the Russians for more sanctions. That you got to think this out, okay? Because the South Koreans, particularly, say, "Hey, the tango has just started," okay? And then you're going to have all of the neocons that want to pile on. They're going to look for that I read the communique, the 4 points. It's vague enough to pull it off, at least to start, okay? Just to get things rolling, okay? That's a smart move, okay? I have to wonder if Pompeo is kind of doing this to Bolton, because Pompeo, that if he could say in 2024, okay, I was behind that summit and all that. He's got high office hopes and desires, okay, and you saw him standing right next to Trump, giving those protocols, and then Kim's sister, which that was really interesting too. Okay, so Pompeo is injected himself into this a lot. He's been there, I think, twice already. Once when he was head of the CIA, and he's vested himself in this process. So one has to wonder if this is happening to John Bolton. Okay, but John Bolton is a really he's a squirrely guy. Okay, he knows how to work the bureaucracy. Okay, we know this. Okay, so it's going to be it's not. I'm not so worried right now between what's going to happen between the Koreas and then North Korea and the United States. I'm more worried about what's going to happen in Trump's cabinet office. Okay, that's where it's going to happen.
And so you have Trump's cabinet, obviously have John Bolton, who may try to sabotage this. There's a long road ahead, but also give us your insight as to how you think the liberal mainstream media in the U.S., the anti-Trump mainstream media in the U.S., how are they going to spin this?
They're going to spin this as he's naive. You can't trust these people. The North Koreans, they're going to bring up the Warren Beer case, which is very tragic. Okay, we need to know more about what happened there. They're going to look for everything to tear him down. This is how pathetic the media has become. They will be anything against Trump. That means they have to be against peace. Okay. And I've been very critical of Donald Trump, and I think he had a lot of courage to do that. Okay, even if it does fail, he's going to be able to say, "Hey, I went there, and I sat down at the table. I signed something that is worth more than the paper it's printed on, and the next step had to be taken." But the media is just going to pile on and want this to fail, because if it fails, it's a victory for the liberal media and the Democrats. That's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, that is pathetic. Well, I think we have a long way to go, but we're off to a good start. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things. Let's go back when Gorbachev and Reagan met in Reykjavik in Iceland, and everybody said it was a failure. It was the beginning of an amazing process. Maybe history will repeat itself here too. I mean, they walked away not agreeing on anything, okay? But the fact that they met and they started some kind of tit-for-tat confidence building, it started to build a momentum. And I think this is what maybe someone like Pompeo and other people are saying, hey, it could work, okay? Let's all keep a measured sense of hopefulness here. But, this is my bread and butter stuff. The fact that it happened, good news.
It's good news, guys. You heard it here first from Peter Lavelle. This is really breaking news. We wanted to jump on this story very quickly. And so give us your thoughts and comments as to how you think this story is going to play out between Trump and Kim. North Korea, South Korea. Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk. Thanks again for giving us your quick and expert analysis on this breaking story. Guys, if you like this video, click the subscribe button down below. Click the notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. Go to the Duran shop, help support the Duran, buy a t-shirt, help independent journalists like this program to broadcast. And guys, take care until next time. Thanks a lot.